Hey ladies, welcome to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well today. If you're new here, my name is Liz and this is Simply Homeschool. So I have been talking to you guys all about the unit studies that we'll be doing this year and I'm so excited for them. We've already done our Australia unit study. We have a couple days left on it. So I wanted to show you guys what we had already done and how I laid it out. Now remember, this is just a mini unit study that is only scheduled out for 5 days. So it doesn't go too in depth, but it has been so fun so far. The kids have been loving it. Also, another thing, I'll be walking you guys through what we purchased for the Australia unit study that we haven't done yet. And I'm so excited. The kids are absolutely gonna love it. I'm gonna love it. My sister will love it. So I'm excited to show you guys. So if you guys haven't already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button, the like, and the notification bell, and that way you can be alerted anytime I have new uploads. So I hope that you guys enjoy this video and let's just jump right in. Alright you guys, so I am so excited to bring you all of the things that I used for our Australia unit study. Like I said, we're still working through it. We have a couple more days of it, but it is going so well and the kids are loving it. It's been really fun, you guys, and totally worth it. Okay, so for the first thing, if you guys watched my video on how to organize a unit study, you will know that the first thing you need to come up with is a topic. So we chose Australia. The second thing is duration, and for me, when I chose to do this, it was last year. Like I said, I won't go into that story again, but I didn't have it planned out exactly how long I wanted it, basically. So I figured we had already done, I think, a couple days worth of learning last year on Australia. And for the most part, this unit study has been about the animals of Australia. So what I did was I broke up 5 days of different animals and we focused on that one animal. Now there are so many things about Australia that I would love to touch on and really love to learn about, but because of the time that we have, we really couldn't go in depth. Now when we started this last year, we did talk about, you know, Australia's population and where it's located, the continent, how many languages are spoken there, who the original people were that lived there first. So there were some things that we did talk about, and I'll show you guys that when we go through it. But this last week, for the 3 days that we've worked on it, we have been focusing more on the animals. So with that being said, the next thing that I did to plan out this curriculum is I went to the library. Now this is when our library was open. Again, I still have all the books and I hope to get those back to them soon. But let me just show you the books that I pulled out. So what I did was, when I initially started looking for books, I was trying to get 3 of everything just so that it would be really easy so each one of the kids would have it. It didn't turn out that way. There were only a handful of books. I want to actually just say that there was 1 book that had 3. And I went to 3 of our local libraries. So the first one I took out was this A True Book, The 7 Continents of Australia and Oceania. And this is basically where I pulled my information about Australia. So if you look throughout the book, you know what, I'll face the camera down for you guys. I'll just show you guys first and then I'll face it down and explain everything so it's easier to see. But this is a book that I pulled out to talk more about Australia. And then I pulled out this DK Animals book. You guys, I would love to have this in our collection. It is so beautiful. My son loves looking through this book. Another book I pulled out was this Koalas book. This is by National Geographic. This is a level 1. We didn't read from this, and I'll explain all of that to you once I get into our actual unit study. But this is a book that I pulled out for koalas. The Life Cycles of the Kangaroos. I'm sorry, I have a glare, and I apologize for that. The next one is World's Weirdest Animals, and this is for an echidna. And then the last one I pulled out here is by Learner, I believe, Comparing Animal Traits. This is about platypuses, web-footed billed mammals, and this one I used for some facts. Now this was more of a comparison book, but I did pull facts from this. Okay, so that was what I pulled out of the library for resources. Now I also went online and I found some things online that I used as well, and I will show you how I used those in my unit study. And another thing that I did get for each one of the girls and myself was one of these folders, and I got them from the Dollar Tree. They are just the 2 pocket folders with the 3 prongs here. So I purchased each one of them one of these, and I did different colors for each of them and myself. I purchased them each one of these 2 pocket folder books as well. It has this cool little zipper on the top that they could put things in here, and then on the inside it's 2 pockets here. So I will get into the things that are inside of this in a moment. So let me turn you guys around and I will start explaining to you guys how I actually broke this up into a unit study. Starting with this 7 Continents, Australia and Oceania book, I literally just flipped through this book pretty fast, and I was just looking for things that stood out to me about Australia. So I knew that I wanted to talk about Uluru. It's a natural wonder there in Australia. I thought that it looked really, really interesting. So that was one of the things I wanted to talk to the girls about. So in the book, it does talk about the barrier reef in Australia, and I knew that that would be really, really interesting to talk about, but I knew that it just had so many things to discuss and explore, so I knew that that would have to be its own unit study. So we didn't really touch on the barrier reef. Another thing we talked about, like I mentioned, were animals. So I started to pull up on the internet the most common animals in Australia, and I found some. And then we talked about the Aboriginal people that were the first to live in Australia. So we discussed them a little bit. Okay, so with that being said, what I started to do is I went online and I started to pull up information about Australia. So this was mainly just about Australia, main key points. So we went over the population, the capital, language, currency, religion, time zones, national holiday, and then the Aboriginal culture. Once we discussed this sheet here, now this is my book. So I have the flag of Australia here, and then I read this to them. We talked about it. Now in their book, what I did was I have the same sheet that we read through, and we each took turns, and then they have the flag on the first sheet. So as I was reading this, they were looking at the Australian flag. And then the Commonwealth star that appears on their flag, it breaks down exactly what that means. So they also have that in their book. Next, we talked about the flower for Australia. This is my copy, so I just read about it to them, and then in their book, they have this. So they have this picture and they have this to read themselves. The next one is about their currency. So we just looked at all the currency that Australia has, and we each had a copy in each of our books. The next thing we have here, and this is also in both of the books, is I did the national colors, and the platypus is the state's emblem or state animal. Australia's national gemstone. And then in the next section here, we talked about Australia, how large it was, the states that are in Australia, and we both had this sheet, so we just read along together. Again, here are main cities and how Australia is broken up. We talked about that, and that's in both of our books. And I typed these up myself after I was looking on the internet and researching, and then I just printed out these little sheets from the internet. These are basically just fun facts that I found about Australia. And so we each have this in our book. And then what I did is for them, I printed out a picture of like the highest mountain in Australia. So this they could look at after we talked about the fun fact. And then the next thing here that we have is all about Uluru. Okay, so this is the book that the kids had. This is the book that I had. So I literally printed out what was on the internet for myself to read through for them. Don't mind the print. I was running out of ink. But I read all about Uluru. I read about the composition of what it was made of. This is the stone that it was made of. So if you flip back to their book, they had the same thing to read through along with me. And then I went ahead and printed these out for them. This one I found on the internet. I thought it was really cool because it had a comparison to show how large this is compared to the other largest things around the world. So I thought that that one was really cool. And then here is the composition, the rock that Uluru is made of. Okay, so I hope this isn't confusing you guys going back and forth. And again, here's more information about the rock so that I could read more, or if they had questions, I could find the answer. So the next thing in the fun facts was about the Great Barrier Reef. So I went ahead and I printed this out. This is in both of our books so we could read it together. And then here is all about Aboriginal people. And so I read about this. We had a little picture here. And then in their book, they have this so we could read together. And then they had another picture. And then I have this really cool picture that I found on Creative Commons of Aboriginal people from a long time ago. So I thought that that would be really interesting for them to see. After learning about Australia and the population and things like that about the country itself, I thought that it would be cool to do some hands-on activities. So what we did was I made up this word search on this graph paper, and they worked through this. And then this wasn't so fun, but I did ask some questions. I typed these up for each one of the girls and they had to answer them. And I just took information that we had read about and asked those questions. Another thing that we started after doing that was this cool little passport book. I found a template on Pinterest and it was free, so I went ahead and made copies for each one of the girls. What it has is this front cover. It's hard to see because I have to cover her information, but it just has questions like given name, the sex, age, place of birth, date issued, and then you can put a little picture here. The picture was too big for it, so we had to unfortunately put it sideways. The next thing we have here is it's a sheet that shows the world, and at the bottom it just asks for their signature, so they went ahead and did that. The next thing in here, it shows a world globe, or a world map, I'm sorry, and it says, where did you go? She wrote in Australia, she colored it in. And then the next thing she did after that was she drew the flag and she wrote something that she learned that was interesting to her. So that is what we did after learning about Australia. Now the next section in the book is all about, or the unit I should say, is all about the animals. So on Monday what we did is we worked through Kangaroo. Now this is in both of our books, and I literally used Post-its, you guys, and I just did them as, or I used them as dividers. So everything in mine is the same in theirs. Used this book here, okay? So what I did was I took information from here. So kangaroos are mammals, so I tagged it as mammals, and then I wrote information from this book here. And then what I did was once we read about marsupials, I just left myself a note to tell me what page in the book to point out or show the kids. So here's the picture that goes with marsupial. So I simply showed all the kids the picture. And then we just read through this together on some of the facts from here. I pulled out and I redid it in my own words and in my own book. And so I just have these little Post-its to show me what pages to go back to the book to show them. And let's see here. So we ran through mammals, what's marsupials, living in mobs, nocturnal feeders, drinking, courting and mating, birth, into the pouch. And everywhere I had a subject, I showed the page of where the photo was. And I just went all the way down through the book, took facts from the book, and I typed it in my own words. So what we did after learning about the kangaroos is each one of the kids got to write a little story about a kangaroo using fun facts that they had learned through the lesson, and they had to write as if they were the kangaroo itself. So I gave them that option, or they could have written a poem about a kangaroo or fun facts about a kangaroo. So they chose to do the story about a kangaroo, which was themselves. I also found a YouTube channel of a woman that drew out a kangaroo and then she used chalk pastels, and that's what we did. So I will put a picture here of their kangaroos, and also down below I will link her YouTube channel. So for the next week, or the next day on Tuesday, we did echidnas, and we basically did it the same exact way. So in my little book, I show how you actually sound out echidnas, and then I broke it down by subject, and then I wrote about them, and then I showed the page to show in the book. So for instance, for page 4, or for bold bodies, I wanted to show them these pages here because it shows the body and it's tagged on what is what body part. So I would show them the picture after we read about it. So that's a good way to do it. I mean, you can't make copies of the photos or the books. It's really hard to come by so many copies. Now, if you had one kid, I think it'd be really easy and doable, but because we have 3, it made it hard. So we just read what I had kind of wrote down or typed up for the facts, and then I showed the pictures. So that worked out really well for us. And again, I had them write a story about her being an echidna. I don't know where hers is right now. And then the next thing we wrote about was, oh, there it is. There's the echidna right here. So while working through echidnas, we learned that their eggs feel like leather. So with my mother-in-law loving to sew, she has so much material that she found this pleather, this fake leather material. So she cut some strips up for us, and I got to give one to each of the girls, and then we used a dime and we wrapped it around the dime. And that was the size of their eggs, and that was the way that their eggs felt. So they really had fun doing that. Something so simple they actually enjoyed. It can turn the unit study into something else, you know what I mean? So they really enjoyed that. And then again with the echidna, for each one of the lessons on the animals, they are writing a story about the animal with the facts and pretending that they are the echidna. So they did that. And then the other activity we did with the echidna was they got to do a postcard. So this is the postcard that my daughter did. And then on the back, I'm sorry I have to cover this, but on the back, she got to write a little bit about her trip there. And she was actually, I think, writing to her future self. And but it gives you the space to write something, the space for the address. Now, if you look at the stamp up above, this is an actual Australia stamp. Now, there is a foundation that you can go to online. It's like the Postal Service Foundation, and you can order used stamps for free. They sent us different states and country stamps that had been previously used, but they only had one Australia. So I just made the copy and let each one of the kids put them on the postcard to kind of bring that more to life. So that is what they did after working through Echidna. We also pulled some really cool YouTube videos up with any of these animals to look on YouTube. You guys can find some cool things. With kangaroos, I found kangaroo males boxing. That was really interesting to watch. The kids thought it was pretty crazy. So we read all about the koalas. Now for the koalas, again, they wrote a story. And another thing we did was I picked up this clay from the dollar store and this cool little tool. Now I am really disappointed because for some reason I thought that I could bake this. I probably should have checked, and I probably should have known, being that it's only $1, that it wouldn't be able to be baked. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did think about it, but I'm like, if anything, it'll probably air dry. But when I looked it up on the internet before we made these little koalas, I checked to see, and they say that they don't even dry, you guys. So now I'm a little stressed out, but each one of the kids made these little koala clay figures. So this is our 2nd graders. They are so cute, you guys. Have their own individuality. It's just really cute. Here is our 3rd graders. And this is our 7th graders. So it was so cute. I wish I actually made one with them. But I found a YouTube channel, and I will link them down below for you on what they followed. It's pretty fast, so you have to pause it, and it is a little confusing. I felt the steps were a little confusing, so maybe watch it yourself and then write down the directions. I didn't really do that. I kind of just found the easiest looking one and went with it. So that was my fault, but they turned out beautiful, and I'm so happy that they enjoyed doing them. So I also wanted to mention in the passport, after we learned about the animals, or a couple of the animals, this was after we learned about koalas. It says, "What did you see?" And she just drew a picture of the koala. And then the last page here is just the stamp showing that they went to Australia for their passport. And that's it in the passport for this time around. So the next thing that we have to do is platypus. This we will be doing tomorrow. And I'm really excited about this one. I think that they'll have fun with it. Now, when we are done with the platypus, what we are going to do is I made up this little game. This is the next animal we'll be working on. We haven't done this one yet. I don't really have an activity chosen specifically to the platypus because I already have something else prepared after we do this, and you will see it in the next clip or in a few clips from here. But I did come up with a little game that I'm going to play with the kids. Now, I wrote out on these index cards, so all koala, platypus, echidna, and kangaroo. I did write up these little flashcards of questions. So what I'm hoping to do is I will ask the kids a question, and they will hold up the correct animal, and then they'll get a candy. We have like a little candy bag for if we ask questions throughout the day. If they answer them during school, then they can choose a piece of candy. So for instance, what mammal has a duck beak? They have to hold up the platypus, and they would get a candy. Now, I also have questions on here that are actual questions, and we will be using our red buzzer for those questions to be asked or answered. So I'll ask a question like, is the echidna warm-blooded? And whoever hits that buzzer first and answers correctly gets a candy for that. Or we may do maybe, you know, our money for our prize box. I'm not sure because it may end up being too much candy if they're getting them right. So this is the super exciting thing that I've been wanting to share with you guys. So we went online and we purchased an Australia snack box, you guys. So the kids have no idea about it. We are so excited. I will link their website down below. This came in the box, so it's called Australia Food Shop. So we have that. And we're just gonna take a peek inside, you guys. I haven't really looked in here. I saw what was on the top, and then I'm like, I'm gonna leave this for a little unveiling for you guys. So we got these little twisty cheeses. They feel like crackers. Everything is nicely bubble wrapped. So let's take these out of the bubble wrap. Burger rings. Those look interesting, huh? I'm so excited. So excited. I hope this is all good. So you guys can choose, like, if you guys were to do this, and this is not at all sponsored, but you guys can choose like what kind of package you want, or if you want to buy things individually. Now I will say shipping is kind of crazy because it's coming from overseas, but me and my sister split it, so that made it cool. So we chose these. These are called Bear Hug Milk Chocolate. They have like little jelly bears in them. I don't know, it looked super interesting, and our kids are all about like crazy foods when it comes to stuff like this. Like they used to love playing that Bean Boozled. Oh my gosh, you guys, I don't understand why these kids wanted to eat like boogers and throw up jelly beans. I don't get it. Dead fish and dirty sock. I don't know, never played it. Let's see, I don't know how to open this. Let me get scissors. Okay, so this is totally for me and my sister, and these are iced coffee slices. They look like little cookies, and I'm so excited about these. The next thing we have here are bullets, milk chocolate licorice. Those look yummy. Sherbie Sour Fizz Chews. There's no artificial flavors or colors, and this was really important to get because my daughter can't have any dyes. Oh, what's this? Okay, TV Snacks Originals. It is super sugary, but this looks delicious. We're definitely going to do this after we do our unit study. These are pods, Mars. So we chose these because in science we're working through astronomy. So we thought that these would be super fun. There's a bigger bag of these Twisties cheese. And then, so those are ones that we chose separately. Now this is one that we bought as a kit. So this, I guess, is what it comes in, this cute little box. And they're all these little snack size items. So again, we have these little twisty cheeses. I'm hoping we like these. They look like puffs, cheese puffs. Milo, this looks like a chocolate milk powder. So we'll have to try that out. Some little candies, Carmelo Koala, Freddo, this is dairy milk, a couple of those. And a couple of the koalas, and we'll just be cutting little pieces off when we try these. We won't be eating the whole thing. Redskins, a cherry ripe. What is this? I have no idea what this is. It's some sort of candy, and this is some sort of candy. And then we got this Shapes Original Pizzas, a wagon wheel, Shapes, oh, this is barbecue flavor, another one of the cherry pies. Okay, this smells like, I don't know what it smells like in this box, but it smells crazy. I will say that. And it doesn't smell that good. Let's see what this is. Vegemite, B vitamins for vitality. Huh. What is this? Maybe this is what I'm smelling. It's sealed. I don't know. It does kind of smell even through the packaging. So this looks like a veggie like spread maybe to put on crackers. So I don't know about this, you guys. I won't have this video up until after we eat these, so maybe I'll put like a little clip in here of what we're eating or what we're tasting. But yeah, I don't know about that. That seems strange, right? But that is it, you guys. So that is our last fun thing that we're gonna do to close out our unit study. So I hope that this was enjoyable for you guys. I hope I explained everything clearly. Now, if I didn't, I am gonna be showing a step-by-step while I prepare our next unit study on owls. I'll actually do it as I'm preparing it. So you guys will be able to see more in depth if you're looking for a unit study and you're not quite sure how to start it, or to do it, stay tuned for that video. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe, and I hope to see you guys back on my channel. Be safe and be blessed always.